Hi, this is Acme with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Vox Markets for Monday, the 9th of May. Starting off with ADVFN, where I suppose if you're not, haven't been following the situation, that little trend line break that we've had today through 75 pence might not amount to much, but combined with the sharp rebound off the floor of that rising trend channel from this time last year and the sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day moving average, it could mean something technically. At least for these purposes, above 75 on an end-of-day close basis, looking for £1.20 at the top of that 2021 rising trend channel, and only well below 70 now, really delaying the breakout scenario from that November resistance line. On to a recent favourite, which came up with the goods, Avacta. Here you can see that shares have managed to bounce quite cleanly off the 200-day moving average. That was around 102. That happened on Friday. We've got the prospect now of the 200-day moving average starting to rise, and at least a retest of last month's resistance of £1.44 or so. That's also a September resistance line projection. Above that, if you're a fan of the shares, then you'll be looking for up to £2, which is a July resistance line projection from last year and the top of the near 1 year triangle on the daily chart. But everything here hinging on the 200-day line remaining unbroken in the interim. Moving along to Dukemount, where the charting worked over the weekend. Here we've had a decent... Well, firstly, we had that tentative break of the September resistance line there around 0.16, and a nice spike today towards the 200-day moving average at 0.25. We should see that hopefully over the next week or so, something like that. But the key here is whether the shares are actually going to change trend above the 200-day line. You go from a bear trend to a bull trend, and obviously that'd be quite a punchy call given the way the shares have been in a negative trend for over a year now. In terms of what might ruin the party, back below 0.18, which was post-March resistance, that could be the sign that it's just a bit of a 1 day or 2 day wonder. We did have a break, a false break back in February, and then the shares came back to new lows. So ideally staying above 0.18, ahead of 0.25, and then after that we can reassess the situation. Moving along to Longboat, which is interesting in the sense that we had, well, firstly, we had the break of that October resistance line there at 54 pence. We then had that massive gap to the upside at the beginning of last month, and we've held the gap at the top of the gap, which is one of the strongest signs you can have. That's also the area of the 200-day moving average, but holding the top of a gap, finding support there on a rebound is a very strong signal, and at least while we're above Friday's low, at 66 pence, we should see a retest of 75 pence. And the big prize here, if you are a fan of the shares, is that we hold the top of the gap and we head up to 105 over the next 2 to 3 months. Maybe something which might help build confidence in terms of that would be a break of this resistance line there at 74 pence. That might be a decent trigger for people to look at over the coming days. Got an uptrend line as well from back in March, but again, that just really ties in with the 66, 67 pence support at the top of the gap. Moving along to Ncondezi, which has certainly had its moments over the last year or so. Here we had that false dawn through the 200-day moving average back in February, and then we came back to test the lows again, not quite making new lows, which was a positive. Today we've had an unfilled gap to the upside so far today, but we'll probably want to see an end-of-day close through at least the 50-day moving average at 0.78. If we can get that, then it's up to a penny, hopefully, by the end of next month. Only back below the gap around 0.59 pence, really delaying the potential recovery for Ncondezi. On to Quadrise, which gets the odd mention here now and again. Here we can see that we've got a situation where the shares have bounced off a line of bounced off the 50-day moving average. That was at 1.88 pence, and above that, on an end-of-day close basis, we're looking for a retest of last month's resistance through 2.8 and through the 200-day moving average at 2.76, hopefully by the end of next month. We've also got an uptrend line in the RSI window from the end of November, which is also quite important. That's provided the momentum for the bounce off the 50-day line. And we should also not forget that unfilled gap to the upside, which broke the August resistance line. It was a very positive sign there, even though obviously we had a gap down after that bull trap through the 200-day moving average. But overall, above 1.9, looking for as high as 3 pence on Quadrise over the next few weeks. Moving on to Savannah, and here you can see that the shares have bounced off the floor of a rising trend channel. That is, it has been in place since the autumn of 2020. The exact level there, around 4.25 pence. So above that, we're looking for 6 pence at the top of the channel there. That's an April 2021 resistance line projection. Hopefully we could see that by the end of next month, even though obviously current stock market conditions, nothing to shout about. One of the few areas obviously which are booming at the moment is anything in the energy space, and here we've got Southern Energy, which gapped up back at the beginning of March and hasn't really looked back since. There was another gap higher earlier in March as well, or sort of a few days after that in March. Rising trend channel here from the beginning of the year. Top of the channel heading towards 70 pence, and we're not far off that now. In fact, we hit the top of the channel early today, but 70 pence maybe by the end of this month. And in fact, the ascent now so sharp, we may be looking for a steeper rising trend channel to take the shares through not only 70 pence, but maybe up to 80 pence by the end of next month. So let's see how Southern Energy goes. In terms of the stop loss, perhaps the initial May resistance there around 53 pence could be a decent stop loss, but at the moment it just looks as though it's a bit of a one-way bet on Southern. Technology minerals looking pretty chirpy as well at the moment. Here we've had, well, we're in the aftermath of that beautiful bear trap reversal that we had at the end of last month. Bear trap from below the initial support there around 2.6 pence. And the view is that above that we could at least hit up to 4 pence, which is the top of that broadening triangle from February, and ideally much more, but at least 4 pence initially, and then we can look to the best levels towards 5.4 pence next month, or towards the end of next month. We had a gap higher on Thursday, and that's standing the stock in good stead. Requested stock now in the form of Vast, which certainly came up with the goods after the interview at the end of last month. Key reversal to the upside today, rising 50-day moving average, so that does suggest that there's enough gas in the tank here to get the shares up to 3 pence on this attempt at recovery, and 3 pence hopefully by the end of this month. Only back below today's key reversal low at 107, really delaying the upside scenario, but that looks quite unlikely. Hopefully we close above Friday's high at 1.63 pence and head up to 3 pence over coming weeks. Finishing off with a stock which seems to be getting its act together now, slightly sort of bubbling up near the lower levels. Wishbone Gold. Here we've got the shares bouncing well off the 50-day moving average. That's around 7.6 pence. Just want to see a clearance now of the 200-day moving average at 9 pence to fulfill the theory that the shares are effectively in a 7 pence to 14 pence range, and will hit the top of the range over the next month or so. Just want to see that 50-day line start to rise a bit more, and that should perk up the price action. We had that bear trap back at the beginning of March, and I think the shares have been perkier ever since that happened. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.